Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a huge UNESCO report that's tackling one of the biggest questions out there right now. What is AI's real place in our schools and universities? And what does it all mean for the future of learning?
All right, so let's get right into it. This isn't just about some new app for the classroom. No way. What this report is saying is that AI is fundamentally shaking up the very way we teach and learn. And that's stirring up a lot of feelings, both huge hope and some pretty deep anxiety.
But while we're all talking about this amazing or maybe scary future, we've got to remember something really important. Who even gets to be in this conversation? A third of all people on Earth are still completely offline. That one fact, it just changes everything. It puts this huge question mark of equity right at the center of the debate. So, how do we get our heads around this whole disruption? Well, we're going to break it down into three parts. First, we'll look at the incredible promise of AI in education. Then, we'll dive into the serious pushback and the potential dangers. And finally, we'll search for a path forward. Let's do it. All right, first up, the promise. This is the big, shiny, optimistic vision, right? The idea that AI could totally revolutionize learning for the good, and maybe even solve some of those super tough problems that teachers have been dealing with forever. The core idea here is actually pretty simple, but it's powerful. We've known for decades that every student is different, they learn at their own pace, in their own way. And for just as long, personalized learning has been this kind of holy grail. Well, AI is promising to finally make that a reality at scale. It can offer custom pacing, super specific feedback, stuff a single teacher trying to manage a classroom of 30 kids just could never do. And this is the big pitch, straight out of Silicon Valley. It sounds amazing, right? An AI tutor for every kid on the planet, infinitely patient, totally personalized, available 24/7. It's a really compelling vision.
Okay, now this is fascinating. This roadmap, it's not from critics, it's what the industry itself is proposing. And look at their number one rule. Put pedagogy first. In other words, the teaching part has to come before the tech part. That's a huge admission, right? They're basically saying the technology has to serve the classroom, not the other way around.
But, of course, it's not that simple. That whole optimistic vision is getting some serious pushback. We're talking about a growing wave of criticism from educators, ethicists, you name it. And they're raising some major red flags. So you gotta ask, right? If AI can give every single kid a personal tutor, what's the problem? Why isn't everybody just celebrating this thing? Well, the critics say the whole idea, the very premise, is fundamentally flawed. And this quote? Wow. It really cuts to the chase. Professor Emily Bender calls it all a con. And what she means is that we're being sold a bill of goods. The argument from critics like her is that these large language models, they don't understand anything. They don't reason, they definitely don't care, they're just producing stuff. Think of it like this. The critics say these systems are basically expert mimics. They are amazing at spotting patterns in language and spitting out text that looks right. It's statistically plausible, but there's no meaning behind it, no real intelligence. It's like a parlor trick. And we, as humans, are the ones who fall for it, projecting a mind and understanding onto a machine where there's, well, nothing there. And what becomes super clear when you look at this is that we're not just having one debate about AI. We're having like 4 or 5 all at once. It's a total clash of worldviews. Are you in the camp that sees a techno-utopia, or a dystopian surveillance state, or maybe you're worried about who's in control, or even the environmental cost? Where you land on AI really just depends on which of these futures you're most worried about, or excited for. And the criticism isn't just abstract. It gets very, very real. We're talking about huge hidden costs. For instance, the staggering amount of water and energy it takes just to train these big AI models. And that leads to this pretty alarming thought. If learning all goes virtual, does actual, physical, get your hands dirty play become a luxury item, something only rich kids can afford? It's a scary thought. So, okay, where do we go from here? It's not just a simple choice between AI is great and AI is terrible. A third path is starting to emerge, a more thoughtful one. It's all about trying to figure out how we can build a more human and ethical future with this technology. And that path starts from a really different place. It's grounded in what's called an ethics of care. So instead of building the tech first and then trying to slap some ethics on at the end, this idea says, no, you have to start with the human side. You have to design these systems from the ground up, thinking about human dignity and vulnerability, and prioritizing real connection over just making things faster. And then you have thinkers like Bayo Akamalafe,
who are pushing us to go even deeper. He talks about this idea of pedagogy. It's a bit of a mind bender. The idea is that intelligence isn't just this thing that's locked up inside your skull. Instead, it's something we participate in. It's this whole web of connections between us, our technology, our environment, everything. It totally flips the script from focusing on the single student to looking at the entire learning ecosystem.
And this quote, just let this one sink in for a second. What if AI is not here to help us solve problems, but to teach us to tremble differently? Wow, it's asking us to think, what if AI isn't just another tool for us to master? What if it's actually here to shake up our own ideas of what it even means to be human and to know things? It's an invitation to be a little humbled, you know?
So how do we make these big ideas actually happen? Well, this compassion by design approach is a super practical starting point. It's not just theory. It means things like, 1, teachers must be involved in creating the tools for their own classrooms. 2, we have to build in an undo button, a way for students and teachers to push back and question what the AI is telling them. And 3, we need to check if these tools are actually good for student well-being, not just whether they're spitting out the right answers. And that's really the bottom line of the report. The best way forward isn't going to come from some top-down, perfectly designed system. Nope. It's going to come from building it from the ground up together. It's about making sure that the actual communities, the local voices, the teachers on the ground, that they have the power to shape these tools, because these tools are going to shape their future. So here's the biggest takeaway from all of this. The future of AI in education, it isn't already written. It's not some script handed down to us by a tech company. It's a story that all of us are writing, right now, with every choice we make. And the most important questions we have to answer, they're not about code or algorithms, they're about us. They are and always will be deeply human.